Before we dive into today's episode, I have something truly special to share. Next September, I'll be leading an intimate women's retreat through the south of France and northern Italy, and you're invited. Picture this: mornings exploring the colorful markets of the French Riviera, afternoons sipping wine, and a hotel view with golden Mediterranean sunsets. Whether you love photography, food, or just want to reconnect with your playful creative self, this trip is designed for you. Spots are limited, so if all this sounds like your kind of adventure, please visit tourwithabsolutely.com and look for the tour France and Italy with Crystal. You can also send me a message or check out the show notes. Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. Claudine Hemingway is a descendant of famed writer Ernest Hemingway. We bumped into each other at a party and decided to team up and dive deep into French history, but with a twist, by bringing a spotlight to those lesser-known creatives in France. This is History with a Hemingway. Welcome back to Paris History Avec Hemingway, and today we are talking about the ladies of Monet, Claude Monet's ladies. So I'll let Claudine take it from here.
Yeah, this one gets a little exciting.
I mean, we all get exciting.
Yes, but this one is, in the past we talked about the ladies of Monet and the ones he painted. This one is more about the Claude Monet's love ladies.
Oh, the lovers.
The lovers, his wives. Everybody knows Claude Monet. He was married. He met Camille Donsou. She was born January 15th, 1847 in Lyon. She moved to Paris at a very young age and became an artist model. Yeah. At 18, in 1865, she met this very young, struggling artist, Claude Monet.
Young and struggling.
Yes. He was basically always struggling. He began to paint her and fell in love with her at the same time. Yeah.
Wait, he painted her and fell in love.
Yeah. Yeah. So he used her, she was his muse. He started painting her right away. And of course, the two fell in love, much to his parents' chagrin. They did not like her. They kept threatening that they were going to cut him off if he stayed with her. So he would, from time to time, like, okay, and go back home. And then she became pregnant.
Oh.
Yeah. At the time, his father's mistress was also pregnant.
His father's mistress is pregnant.
Yeah. You would think that maybe he'd have a little bit like, okay, son, I get it. It happens. But no, he was not happy. They were even more ticked off. They ended up living together, and his parents did cut him off. She was pregnant. He didn't know what he was going to do. He was constantly asking friends for money. His other fellow artists, the two kept moving around to outrun creditors and also just try to find cheaper places to be. He at one point decided, he was going to go and try to placate his family. So he went back home for a little bit. Camille ended up having her baby in his studio, basically completely alone.
Oh my God. Can you imagine giving birth alone in an art studio?
In an art studio. And I mean, this is, the art studio of the 19th century.
There's terrifying.
Yeah. And so she was all by herself. It was August 8th, 1867. And their son, Jean Monet, was born just all by himself. He was back trying to, make his parents happy. And so, of course, once they learned that she had had the baby, it wasn't like a turn of events like, okay, we have our grandchild. No, they were still ticked off and cut him off.
What?
Yeah. They
They
just did
rather let
not
their
like her.
grandson starve while they
Yeah.
hated
I know they
her.
really hated her. Even Frederick Bazzi, the artist and very close friend of Claude Monet, even wrote his father a letter trying to say, trying to plead his case, but it didn't work. At the time, Monet was so distraught and so upset about this because he's like, now I have this family, I can't afford this. He actually tried to kill himself.
What?
Yeah, he jumped off one of the bridges in Paris, but he was a very good swimmer, and so as soon as he hit the water, those instincts kicked in. He swam to the side and jumped out.
I didn't know he tried to kill
Yeah,
himself. Gosh,
tried to
that's
kill
sort of
himself in the sand. Yeah,
this
um,
poor
yeah. He had a lot of depression,
issues.
and he, was they were struggling basically almost till the end of his life.
That's so depressing.
Yeah. Camille, he loved to paint her. He first painted her in a painting called La Femme en Rose Vert, the woman in the green dress. It was this huge green dress that they actually rented
He
to
rented a
paint her. He rented a dress. He submitted to the 1866 Salon. It was received, and they hung it up, and he even won a silver medal.
but he still was poor his whole life.
He still was poor, yeah, till the end. Right before the end. But he painted her again in 1873, and as the Red Cappadine, he kept that painting with him until his death, which is surprising, and we'll tell you why that's surprising later on. But he also had this love of Japanese art. So if you've been out to Giverny, which I'm sure you have, there's that room that is filled with Japanese block prints.
Yeah, yeah. I love
Yeah.
going out there.
And he was obsessed with the Japanese art. Many of the Impressionists it really influenced the Impressionists because of the colors and just everything about them. So he had this kind of fascination with any Japanese art. So there's this beautiful painting of Camille in this red Japanese gown holding a fan. It's really fantastic. But she also sat for Manet and Renoir and Bazzi. So she, kind of was moving around with all of them. All of his friends would come over and, they'd paint Camille.
Normal.
Yeah, I know, right?
My wife is naked. Have at it.
Yeah. But he was constantly trying to find money. He was constantly asking his friends, he asked Manet for money, Renoir, Bazzi, all of these people, is constantly always just begging for money. They kept having to move all the time. In Salon of 1870, he presented his version of Déjeuner sur l'herbe, which, of course, Manet is very famous for his that we've talked about before. But Monet also did one.
Where's this
And
one?
this one's in the Orsay. It's huge, but there's just part of it that's in the Orsay. When he painted it, he used his friend Bazzi, of course. And then the other gentleman in the painting is Gustave Courbet, which is another artist. And then there's two ladies in the painting. Both of them are Camille.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so it's this huge painting. It's basically when you come off the escalator to go to the fifth floor, the Impressionist wing, it's kind of the very first painting you walk into when you're looking down the hall of the Impressionists. It's kind of the first one there on the wall in between you.
Yeah, I know exactly which one.
Yeah, and it's kind of two separate frames. The side
Hmm.
on the left is really tall. The side on the right is like a square, and it kind of is in the center.
Yeah.
It was because he at one point had given it to a landlord to hold on to for collateral, and he kept it in his basement.
So it got messed up.
It got water damage and mildew damage, and so then when he got it back, when Claude got it back later, he was so upset, and he ended up having to cut off all of these parts that were bad. So
That's
that's why
crazy.
when you look at it, it's this very, it's like a puzzle.
Oddly shaped.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so it's really interesting to see that. Of course, it was rejected. There was a huge scandal because his painting was rejected at that time. Basically, anybody that called anything déjeuner sur l'herbe was just asking for trouble.
Hmm.
The two of the three jurors at the time had to resign because the public was so outraged that his painting was tossed out. In 1870, the siege of Paris began, and so he packed everybody up and went to London.
Good idea.
Yeah, and that's where you do see some of his. I mean, Monet, of course, is so tied to France, but there are a bunch of paintings that you will come across of London, and this is when he did those. At the time, it wasn't really a prolific time for him. He was still rather depressed. He wasn't really inspired, but he did do some pieces that you could definitely see, in the Orsay and museums. I think every museum in the world has a Monet in it.
Yeah, that's true. There's a ton of money
Yeah,
out
he just did so much. He returned the next year, and that basically was the beginning of his like most productive time. It was the time, basically the beginning of the Impressionist period. So it was like, he was incredibly, like, he just was painting, painting, painting constantly.
there. So he was busy
He
man.
was a busy guy. Yeah. In 1874, the Société Économique d'Artistes et Peinture, Sculpture and Gravure
That's a
was
mouthful.
created. Yeah. This was in result because of the Salon not wanting to even, authorize or even say that Impressionism was a form of art. At that time, they didn't have a name for it. But in 1874, it did get a name because he presented this painting he did, and the art critics saw it and called it Impression. It's the impression of the sunrise.
Yeah.
And you can see that painting in the Musée Marbeton Monet in Paris, which is an amazing small museum.
Love
But
that.
that was basically what started the whole movement.
So Monet is the start of Impressionism.
He is, yeah, his one painting. And a lot of people were like, it doesn't even, it's like, hard to look at. It's blurry. Why does anybody want to see this? Yeah. But he's
Hard.
still, even when he was having this stuff all going on, they still didn't have any money. At one point, they were actually staying at this small little house outside of Paris. They were kicked out in the middle of the night. Monet was outside naked,
Oh my God.
kicked him out. So he finally ended up finding a large donor that was going to commission him to do all these paintings, Monsieur Guibier. He went to go stay with him. They only stayed there for a few days because then he said that he couldn't actually pay him to commission these
Great.
paintings. So they left. Finally, in 1870, he married Camille.
That took long enough.
Took long enough, yeah. So they were married at her parents' house outside of Paris. Gustave Courbet served as their witness.
I love that.
And so, now they were, legally married. They had a child, still constantly looking for a place to sleep at night.
Yeah, which is crazy considering that house in Germany is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. I mean, that was, that's the better years. But at the same time, in another part of outside of Paris was a husband and wife, Ernest Hochaday and Alice Rango. Alice married him on April 16th, 1861. He and his family owned a textile business that he would run. In 1870, she inherited her father's estate and a huge amount of money.
Nice.
The two of them had 5 children together at this point. They were living the high life. He loved to be able to just spend and spend and spend. He was basically one people that was like single-handedly supporting the Impressionists, like all the painters. He
He was
was
paying for
buying,
everyone to
yeah.
live.
He was paying, he was buying everything he
All the
could that they would
paintings.
do. And so he would actually invite some of these artists to come to his house and to paint there. and to paint the interior. So Claude Monet hears this. I thought, well, heck, I want to do this. There, it's a place to stay, and he's paying all this money. So Monet goes out there in 1876 to paint some panels in his dining room. And so he went out there, and Ernest would go off to Paris to go to work, and he'd spend days there. And then he left, Claude Monet is back there at his chateau, and Alice was there with all of her children. This is at the Chateau de Rotenburg. They became very flirtatious.
Uh-oh.
Yes. Meanwhile, Camille, was left, with the baby Jean, and, I'm sure starving. And so Claude and Alice started having an affair.
Oh, no.
Yes. At the same time, Ernest's lifestyle caught up with him. His family's business closed. They basically kicked him out
Oh,
because
no.
he was just spending everything. He just, all he did was throw money around and had no money coming in. So the creditors started coming. He started selling off a lot of his paintings, trying to fend off everything. They ended up seizing his chateau, taking most of the furnishings and the paintings to sell off. And so Alice was like, okay, I'm out of here. Took her 5 children. She was also pregnant at the time.
With Monet's baby?
We don't, yeah, could be. But she took all of these children, and she's pregnant, on a train. She was going to go move in with Claude, Camille, and Jean.
What?
She had the baby on the train. Meanwhile, Camille is also pregnant.
What?
So she had this child. Camille had a child. And it's thought that they were both Claude Monet's children.
Monet was a busy man. He was
a
very fertile.
he was a busy guy. Yeah. So they all came and moved in.
So Cammy was cool with this chick?
No, I don't think we'd say she was cool with it, but what choice did a woman really have then? You leave or
Yeah.
you put up with it. But he didn't have a lot of money at the time, but what's the difference?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, he's not offering much.
No, he's not offering very much. So they're all living together. At one point, then, here comes Ernest. He comes and moves in with them. They have this very tiny place, and there was like 13 people in it.
With all these kids.
All of these kids. Yeah. Camille had their second son, Michael. He was born in 1878. It is believed that pregnancy was because it was very difficult on her. She started to become pretty ill. At the time, she started slowly slipping away, and Claude Monet asked Alice if she would help and take care of her.
Weird.
Yes. So Alice was looking over Camille, trying to help her out. It's now believed she had uterine cancer. She was suffering on September 5th, 1879. Camille asked to see her boys to come say goodbye. She was still very with it, mentally. She said goodbye to her sons, and later that day died.
How old was she?
She was only 32 years old.
Oh my God, she was so young.
Isn't that crazy? 32 years old. And when you see paintings of her, you think that she looks like she's 60s.
Oh, because she had such a hard life.
Yeah. Claude sat by her for 2 days. After she died, he just stayed there. He wrote a letter to his friend, Clemenceau. He said, I watched her almost with mechanical observation to the sequences of the changing colors that death was imposing on her rigid face.
Oh, jeez, that's grim.
Yeah, blue, yellow, gray, and so on. My reflex compelled me to take unconscious acts in spite of my grief. And he painted her. It
What?
Yes, it's this painting that you can find at Orsay. I'll put a picture of it on my website. And it is you really, if you don't know the story, and if there wasn't a plaque saying that it was, basically her deathbed, you wouldn't really know. It just is like her face and just kind of almost like she's surrounded by like a veil.
Oh, yeah. I think I remember that one.
Yeah, so it's incredibly sad. So after those 2 days that he sat there, she was laid to rest. And then there's Alice.
I can't believe she was only 32. She was so young. I mean,
32
living with
years
that
old.
many kids would probably kill you pretty
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah, and then there are your mistress's kids.
God, what a miserable life she had.
Yeah. So Alice comes back to the house after she's laid to rest and says, "Burn everything."
What?
She instructed her letters, photos, paintings, anything with Camille in it, burned and destroyed.
So we lost like all of Kemi?
Yeah, so basically we don't know a lot about her life outside of the period that she stayed with she was with Monet because nothing survives.
What a psycho.
Yeah. So that's why I said at the beginning about the painting that he kept with him until his death of her is so surprising that he kept it because she just destroyed everything.
That's really depressing.
Yeah.
So
So, he was incredibly sad at the, when she died. He got, went into a very dark depression. And Alice just basically did all she could to just wipe her from existence.
did Alice have any money?
No, at that point, no, she didn't because they lost everything when she was married.
So she's just living with her 6 kids and then the 2 other kids and then
Yeah,
poor Monet.
yeah, yeah. Ernest, became very ill. He was living with them as well for a short period of time. He went back to his home that he had in Paris, and he died on March 18th, 1891, at 45 years old.
Oh, young.
This all happened. He didn't have Giverny yet, so Camille didn't. This was what before Giverny. Um, and so he dies there in Paris, and Claude had already asked Alice to marry him, but she said no, and then until after her husband died.
So when her husband died, she said yes.
Yes, when her husband died, she said yes. He died March 18th, 1891. On July 16th, 1892, Claude and Alice were married.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. Alice's daughter Blanche married Claude's son Jean
No
in
way.
1897.
Oh my God.
It's almost like was an HBO TV show called Big Love.
Yeah, this is a great show in the making.
It is. Yeah. After 35 years in 1911, Alice died of leukemia in Giverny.
Oh, she died of cancer.
She died of cancer. They were together for 35 years, far longer than he was ever with
Kemi.
Camille.
That's a long time.
Yeah. He was, of course, very upset after she died as well. He said in a letter to his friend that his beloved companion died today at 4 a.m. I am helpless and I am lost. He had become very popular at this point. He was very wealthy. Before that, he was on a train one day and he saw outside his window this beautiful area that was Giverny. He rented the house there. And then he was able, because he was making money, he was able to buy it. He was buy the land around it, buy, other buildings around it. He created the pond, the famous lily pond.
Hmm.
He had the water diverted to fill his pond, which ticked people off. Then the water lilies that are so famous are actually some sort of a species that they did not want there, and said that they would basically bring some sort of fungal disease to,
Okay.
to the plants, and he didn't care. So he was just like, I don't, I'm still going to have them. So he had done, he created Giverny to this amazing place that you could go visit from the spring to the fall. It's absolutely fantastic. It's just a short distance from Paris. And it's absolutely beautiful. But he stayed there until the rest of his life. He ended up getting cataracts in his eyes. He even went under surgery a few times.
Oh,
Uh,
that's scary.
yeah,
Cataract surgery back then?
back
Yikes.
then. Yeah. And that's actually why there are so many paintings of the water lilies and the weeping willow trees, because it's something he knew from memory. So
Oh,
as his vision slipped, he was painting. That's why he just over and over and over painted these water lilies and the pond.
so he's basically blind painting.
Yeah, yeah. And
That,
the weeping willow trees is what he painted, because of all of the death of the French soldiers in World War I.
oh. And
So
so
yeah,
did he ever live in that amazing house with Alice?
yeah, yeah. At the end of it, she was there with him.
But they really never had their kids there because the kids were all grown
Yeah,
by
the
then.
kids were grown. Blanche ended up staying with him until the end of his life. His now daughter-in-law, stepdaughter slash daughter-in-law. She ended up staying there with him and taking care of him the rest of his life. And with his son Jean, Michael, his other son, kind of kept over the family name and took care of everything. He was killed in a car accident in 1966.
Mm.
Yeah, but
And then,
Claude Monet himself died December 5th, 1926. The very famous water lily paintings that are in the Musée de Lingerie in Paris, he donated those to France on the final day of World War I, on
hmm.
November 11th, 1918. He gave these as a gift. He worked with his friend Clemenceau, who was a huge government and military leader. He said over and over he wanted to do this, the Grand Projet, this huge project that he wanted to do and give it to France. But he kept stopping and didn't want to do it anymore. And he'd send a letter to Clemenceau, say, I'm done with this. I'm not doing it. And Clemenceau would have to go out to Giverny and talk him off the ledge. And he said he would do these and he wanted to give them to France, but under a stipulation that he had a
Hmm.
say in where they went and how they were hung.
Oh, wow.
Originally, they were going to build a museum for them in the back area of the Rodin Museum.
Mm.
But then they decided not to because it would clash. This is saying modern in the 1920s. It
Yeah.
would clash with the Louis XIV style of the Hotel Biron. That's the Musée Rodin. And so they kind of went back and forth, and they finally decided on putting it into what was a formal orangery, that's in the Jardin des Tuileries. And so they built that, and then he worked with them about the shape of the room and how the light needed to come in. And so basically how we see them today is because of how he wanted them. He died before it was ever finished, so he never saw
Mm.
that. But he had direct influence on how they were hung, how they were shown, everything.
I love knowing that. That's really interesting that he was so involved.
Yeah. Even though we tried to stop it a few times.
Whoops.
Yeah, but it is really cool when you go there. Make sure, if you have the time, go in the morning and then go again in the late afternoon, even if it's when it gets dark, because the way it's set up with the skylight, it does change the way he wanted this effect with the light, natural light, of how you see the paintings throughout the day.
I didn't know that. I've never
Yeah,
done that. I'm going to do that.
yeah. So they're pretty amazing. But yeah, Alice, the fact that Alice just had to nurse her uh you know lover's wife,
So strange.
and then just destroyed everything about her.
The fact that their kids got married is what freaks me out.
Yeah, it is. And then the son that she had, that could have been Monet's, his name was Jean.
Oh my God, that's so weird.
Yeah, but back then, there was like 3 names they used.
Yeah.
Jean, Jean-Baptiste.
Jean-Claude.
Yeah, yeah. So there wasn't a whole lot of names out there for the picking, I guess. But yeah, they definitely could have been actually, you know, half siblings.
Yeah, that's even weirder. Oh.
It is very strange. But yeah, I mean, he was depressed and chasing money most of his life until those last, probably 30 years of his life when he started actually coming into money. And now look, I mean, his paintings, one painting will sell for 15, $20 million.
Crazy. I can't believe. Well, at least he actually got to see some money at the end. Most of them don't get to see it ever.
Yeah, some of them don't ever get to see it, but yeah, the gardens to go out there, it's amazing. You go through his house, where it's so cool. They have like the dining rooms like butter yellow. The kitchen is probably the best part because it's got these blue tiles and all of this copper. And he was the one who picked out all of the colors and did all of that for the house.
I have to go in the house because when I was there, it was so busy that I didn't want to wait in line to go in the house. So we just did the garden. But that
Yeah,
was years ago. I think
yeah,
right now is probably a good time to go with the pandemic.
yeah. Even when I went a couple springs ago, I think it wasn't too bad. You definitely want to have time to go through the garden. When you walk, the pond is on the other side of the road. There's like a little tunnel that goes underneath the road to take you there. It's
Hmm.
when you're walking around it, you see the Japanese bridge that he painted so many times, and you're standing there knowing you're standing in the same place that Claude Monet stood and
Yeah,
painted that. It's pretty overwhelming.
that's super cool.
It's really cool. Yeah. And he's buried there too.
Oh, yeah, he's buried there too. I forgot
Yeah.
that part.
In a very not fancy grave.
Grave.
Mhm.
Well, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. And don't forget to join Claudine on her virtual tours every Sunday around Paris. And if you want to take a trip to France, have her plan it for you. You can check out everything on ClaudineHemingway.com and tune in next week.
Thank you for listening to Paris History Avec a Hemingway. If you want to find out some more, you could always find me on my Instagram page, Claudine Bleu Blanc Rouge, and that's BLEU, as in the French way to spell it. And each day I post a daily history lesson about a person or a place or something in Paris, or it's lots of fun facts. And then also at ClaudineHemingway.com, where you can also sign up for my newsletter there.